Hi, this is David Newton speaking. Now, today's topic is why I choose seminars as a pathway to professional speaking. Now, you might have heard me speak before about professional speaking and running seminars, and I'll probably concentrate on this topic on and off for quite some time because I believe it is an important pathway for those of you who wish to look at being in the speaking business or some aspect of it. And it doesn't always have to be the same type of thing. There are many different pathways that you can achieve now for professional speaking or being paid to speak. Now, first of all, I do need to preempt this is going to be a little bit of a long, short story. So let's dive straight into it. Now, my story for going back into time from when I first started with professional speaking or dealing with professional speakers goes back to the very early days of when I was quite young. And look, to save time, I won't mention that right here, but yes, I'm a bit of an old duck. Anyway, the case of the situation is that my first foray into the professional speaking world was not me necessarily speaking myself. I'd organised a seminar, or seminar series I should say, a course, a sales course, and all the speaking that I actually did in the course was introduce the guest speakers that I'd lined up. Now, at first, this was one of the ideas. This was actually one of my second business attempts after leaving my retail business, which I ran for a number of years, and I was quite impressed because I joined up to a breakfast club and heard many different speakers. The idea occurred to me about running a series of workshops, or actually a course on selling, occurred because I'd heard many different speakers and I thought maybe this could be a possibility. So what I did was I consulted with a few friends who were in the club and I asked their ideas about the possibility of running a course that I could charge for and having different speakers. What I wound up with is a 6 Monday night, 6-week course with 6 different speakers. That's one different speaker each night. And about 3 of these speakers I did have to pay to show up and organise accommodation for them and fly them in. I was living in Wagga Wagga at the time, a rural city in New South Wales here in Australia. And as a result of that, I also had 3 local speakers who I also had on the program who basically spoke for free, but it was giving them a little bit of extra profile for their business. So not only did I have to invite the speakers, but I also curated the program as to what the topics were going to be. It was kind of a serial format in a way of, you know, how to prospect for new business all the way through to closing sales, as well as a bit of motivation and some very inspiring speakers who were quite well high profiled at the time, some of which still are today. Now, what really got me was the year before this actual event was I'd heard as a result of the different speakers that came along to the Brekkie Club that I was in, that speakers were paid as much as $6,000 to speak for 1 hour, and maybe they might have been an after-dinner speaker or a keynote speaker, and I thought, wow, being paid $6,000 for just a talk and then to get a free dinner at the same time, I thought, wow, that's amazing. I want in, you know. I thought that was really quite absolutely amazing. So anyway, that was part of the seed inspiration behind me running this seminar series the following year. So what I did was, after organising this particular course, I did have to do a bit of marketing, and on a very shoestring budget, you wouldn't believe it today, but this is what I did do. I organised both radio advertising and a little bit of TV advertising, and miraculously, a 2-week campaign, it actually worked. On top of that, I was lucky enough to get a little bit of free press in the local newspaper, and I found this absolutely fantastic, as well as getting probably about a good 15 minutes of free radio time from one of the shock jocks, you might say, on the local radio station in Wagga Wagga. So it was really quite amazing that I was able to achieve that. And yes, I was quite young when I was working on this. Now, the upshot of it was I did fill up a room. The local venue that I was using only charged me for the coffees and teas at the back of the room, and essentially I got the room for free, which was quite a surprise. But I think this was probably because it was a leagues club. They had poker machines in the venue, so they figured that events like mine that were professional events would just attract more people into the venue, which some of those would probably hang around a bit later afterwards and buy a meal or use the poker machines downstairs. But I must say the venue was absolutely top class, and I was very fortunate to be able to achieve getting that venue. And I likewise repeated the program in Albury-Wodonga essentially about 3 months later, and bang, yet again it worked like a miraculous charm. I also managed to fill up some seats, actually more. However, in the process of running that, I learned what was behind the professional speaking industry by being sort of like at arm's length. Here I was organising speakers, both free and paid, and I was the one actually getting paid for organising the show. Now, in addition to that, some of the speakers knocked on my door, so to speak, and asked me to sell their cassette tapes, their training programs, their books and so forth at the back of the room on the table at the back. And surprisingly enough, this table of selling other people's goodies, you know, the guest speakers and so forth, made me, because they gave me 100% markup on all of their goodies. They gave me a discount from the recommended retail price, which was 50%. So if their product sold for, say, $200, I got $100 of that, which was really quite an amazing deal. And I made more income from selling from the back of the room than I did from selling the entire course. So essentially on a ratio basis, I was making a 2-to-1 ratio. $2 for every $2 sold at the back of the table was equal to $1 of selling the seminar tickets to the course itself. So there's a lesson in it there for you. Now, one thing was, I didn't even have a topic at that stage. I didn't speak at the seminar myself other than to introduce the guest speakers and then to maybe cap off at the end of the night a thank you or a thank you gift to that speaker. And I even gave thank you gifts for some of the professional speakers, so that was part of my angle of what I was doing at the time. One of the big takeaways from it was, yes, I did get a tremendous amount of inspiration from running these events, and that carried on for quite some time to come. Now, it wasn't for some years down the track what happened afterwards that I eventually got the bug and had a niche for myself. So let me tell you a bit of that story. Okay, what happened next was, over the next ensuing number of years, I had eventually found a topic which I liked, which in this particular case was teaching people about meeting people as a result of 1 or 2 talks that I had. And I essentially worked with singles at the time, that is, people had either fallen out of a marriage or were looking for a partner or that type of thing, and that drifted into being one of my key topics, as well as teaching business people how they could meet people and be better at prospecting for their business. But primarily I worked in the singles area, and that was my target niche, you might say. Now, it wasn't until at least 9 years later that I had started on writing my second book. And writing my second book, it was called Attracting Passionate Encounters. With that particular book, I created a series of seminars which was called The Art of Romance and so forth. You'll see pictures flash up on the screen here of what I was doing at the time. But the essential fact of the matter was, I was then living in Melbourne, and I was promoting these seminars via ads in the Saturday Extra section, a lift-out section of the newspaper, and to tremendous success. Now, I felt a major fulfillment of my dreams at that particular point, and what's more, I couldn't get over the fact that not only was I making money out of my book and my cassette program, but I was also doing quite well out of the seminars themselves. And thirdly, I did have some one-on-one consultations with people who came along to my seminars as a direct result of that. So what I would say is that you don't actually have to be directly in professional speaking yourself in order to have some kind of a taste to it. If you can organise others around a general topic or a general broader topic, you're more likely to understand and have a more empathy for other speakers or other people in the industry, and therefore that can be a launching pad for where you want to go to in the future. Now, I still have to complete a little bit more of the story yet to come with this particular detail. Now, quite a number of years after actually doing this particular early run of seminars, I was still trying to find a way how I could actually run my seminars and maybe lift the game a little bit. So what I did was two different things. I eventually moved to Sydney, and what I ran was a series of monthly seminars where I had a different guest speaker, or ultimately two guest speakers at each particular seminar, and you'll see pictures flash up on the screen of what I was doing at this particular time. And I had different various celebrity guest speakers, very few of which actually requested an actual payment, but what I was able to do was glean a particular different type of experience. Now, as a sidetrack to that, I was also running some of my own seminars. You'll see flash up on the screen what I was doing. I'd honed in a particular 2.5 hour seminar segment that I was doing, which helped me both sell book products as well as my one-on-one coaching that I was doing at the time, once again to singles, and this worked spectacularly well, I would say, and I would say that it helped me hone in on a particular way of how I could actually use my professional speaking and take it to another step as to being able to attract the right kind of customers, and also to sell book product at the same time, and also help me launch into the internet world as a direct result of it. I found this to be not only a great motivation for myself, but I found it was a pretty good template to work from for the future. But one thing I would like to say is, if it wasn't for running seminars, and this is why I encourage you to look at seminars as a potential pathway to profit. Now, of course, you don't always have to run face-to-face seminars. You can run a version of face-to-face seminars directly online, and there are more hybrid versions of doing this more than there've ever been before, and I can only see this being continuing in lots of different ways, and ways that I will definitely be using myself as time moves forward. But I encourage you, and this is the case, I encourage you completely, is to get started in speaking right now, wherever you are. It doesn't have to be perfect. Look, I use Toastmasters and Rostrum Club to hone in my professional speaking skills, and I would also encourage you to join up to the Professional Speakers Association. So this way you can also learn from the monthly meetings what it's like for other professional speakers, how they do what they do, and get the bigger picture of what's going on out there. This, by the way, isn't the only pathway to enlightenment, as it may be. There, once again, keep your eyes open and learn from others, but be willing to learn from others actually in the process of doing what you're doing. Because I can say one thing for sure, you will be inspired by other people and it will motivate you. And also make sure that you have something like a 5 or 10 year plan, not just a short hit plan, but a 5 or 10 year plan as to what you're going to do. You may hit that goal a lot sooner, but you've got to have the determination, the drive, the willingness to succeed regardless of what goes wrong along the way, so that you can push yourself, and I mean really push yourself, because it ain't easy. There are lots of ways that things can fall in. Life can get in the way, your health can get in the way, you could have a job change in the meantime whilst you're struggling for this part-time, and you do need to be able to support yourself all the way through with this goal so that you can achieve the final end. And ultimately you can draw the picture of what that may be. That's why I encourage you to join up and mix with other professional speakers and get a wider screen picture of where this is going to go and what the potential could be for you. You may have one particular pathway, but you may not be aware of 9 other different ways out of 10 that you could look at that pathway, other ways that you may have never considered before. So keep your mind open, folks. Keeping your mind open is a really big deal. Okay, if you like this particular way, please like and subscribe, and give me a comment of where your goals are for the future for professional speaking. What do you think is important? And if you got to this far in the video, please write the title Professional Speaker I Am at the front of it, so I know that you've actually got there. Professional Speaker I Am. And give us your comments of what your dreams are, where you'd like to be as a professional speaker or seminar speaker somewhere down the track. This is David Newton speaking. Look at some of these further videos I've got as more inspiration to grow your business.